Hey guys, it's HeyTeacherRaf@gmail.com. Click subscribe and see more tidbits like this. Hey, how are you? I hope you're doing well and taking care of your loved ones today. I wanted to talk to you about this current situation and preparedness. What do I mean by that? That means when you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average on the stock exchange, the US stock exchange, it's around 23,000 points. Now, what does that mean? It means that people invest in the stock market and the stock market rises. Well, something happened where people or banks or corporations pulled their money out and the stock market, look at the graph, okay? And what happened, the Fed stepped in and put a ton of trillions of dollars in it to build it back up. Hey, wonderful. Who doesn't like stability and security? Everyone, right? Makes me feel better. Okay, good. But here's the point. That means that the banks receive that money. So mom and pop, you and I, we don't control the stock market anymore. Does that make sense? The stock market is supposed to work as a buy and sell type of market where if there's bad news or if there's good news, the stock rises or falls because fear sets in, right? And people buy or sell. Okay, perfect. Now that's logical, but is it really working like that anymore? I would consider telling you to think about that and take a really good look, because when there's bad news, the stock market has been rising. Not always, but a lot of times. That's not normal. So what does that mean? It means banks and corporations and the Fed are pushing money into the stock market to prop it up synthetically. Now, why does that concern us, the mom and pop, the you and I? Because if the bank or the corporation calls on that money and pulls it out, then the market will go from 23,000, which is again synthetically propped up by that money, that huge cushion of money. That's not really our money. You see what I mean? They can take that out of the market anytime. I don't want to scare you, but this is reality, and people need to understand the stock market doesn't work like it traditionally has been in the past. Of course, there's always been corruption. We all know this if you do a little research, but the corruption today, I don't know if I should call it corruption, but the synthetic security within the stock market price, that's not real. That's kind of like an illusion. Because if they take out their trillions of dollars, which a lot of brokers are saying that they're going to do this, I don't know when. Again, I'm not here to scare you, I'm here to get you to start thinking about this, okay? Logically, then the stock market, the Dow Jones, will go down to what it's actually at right now, realistically. Where is it? Well, brokers are telling us that is below 10,000. That's right. There's a layer of 13,000 points on top that doesn't belong to us. You see? So all of those assets that we have, the portfolios, 401k, any type of retirement funds, Roth IRA, traditional IRA, whatever you might have invested, the portfolios are usually divided into stocks, bonds, and cash, and other types of bonds, and then foreign stocks. Okay. Well, my point is that many people have an aggressive alert, or moderately aggressive, or moderate, or moderately conservative structure on their portfolio, which means that there's a percentage of stock that is in your portfolio. So the more aggressive your portfolio, the larger percentage of stock in your portfolio, right? So it could be like 80% for highly aggressive, right? Moderate could be like maybe 50 or 60%. You see what I mean? So most people, if not all, have a huge percentage of their portfolio in the stock exchange. What I would consider telling you to think about is to move your portfolio from where it is right now, regardless, okay, and put it in a very conservative and highly stable area. Now, what does that mean? That could possibly mean, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is something that you need to consider on your own. Why do I say that? Because your broker, remember, is making money off of us. Okay, so if we keep our money in there, the broker is making money off of that, because it's employing that person. Now that's good, of course. I don't want anyone to lose their job. But the point is that right now there's too many unknowns, and I think everyone needs to sort of take a couple steps back, take a couple breaths, digest this information and say, hey, what's going on? We don't know. Okay, so what do I need to do to secure myself and my well-being and perhaps my future? So these are kind of a couple of ways. The first is to move your portfolio. Consider moving. Of course, this is not financial advice. You have to make this decision on your own, to something like the short-term bond market or a stable bank fund. What does that mean? It means that there's a name of a bank, and then it says stable, and then it says fund. So the bank has that money, they're holding that. Now, of course, these are the most stable options. Otherwise, there are other options. There's gold as a metal, as a commodity, and there's silver. Now, you can do that, but it's a little bit more complex. It's not a broker and saying, hey, I would like to move my funds from A to bond market or stable bank fund. That's very simple. You call them up and you tell them. Now, of course, they're going to give you pushback because they don't want to lose that money. You have to understand. So they're going to fight you tooth and nail. I know it sounds ridiculous. It's your money. You have to make the decision. But remember what they're thinking. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want the stock market to go down. But hey, like I said, there's 13,000 points of synthetic propped up money in there, and we don't control that. Now, you can do your research and realize that that's true. That's not speculation, that's fact. Speculation is if and when they could possibly pull that money out. That's speculation. So some people think, hey, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to just put everything in stocks for 30 years. You know what? God bless you. And I hope you're right. Now me, I'm not doing that. I'm going to move all my money out and put it in short-term bonds and stable bank fund. Okay, now gold and silver commodity, like I said, that's a separate entity. You can do this, but it's a little bit more complicated because you have to open up a commodities trading account. Now, of course, your broker might be able to set that up for you. You might want to ask them. I don't know. I'm not a financial expert. Again, this is not financial advice. You need to figure this out on your own. Or you could, of course, divulge everything into cash and then just leave it in your account, right? You don't pull it out. You don't get any tax. You just leave it in there. These are all options for you. Of course, the most extreme option is to pull everything out and keep it in your bank account. You know why? Because it's FDIC approved. That's a great option. Of course, you're going to be taxed. They're going to tax you the 20%, and then they'll give you like a 10% penalty for an early withdrawal. Yes, this is all correct. But the thing is, it's FDIC approved, insured, up to 250 grand. It means that your money is guaranteed in that account if something were to happen, right? Bonds, there's no guarantee. Stocks, there's no guarantee. And even stable bank fund, there's no guarantee. Now, I haven't done that. I haven't not pulled all my money and put it in a bank account yet. But it is crossing my mind because of what is taking place with the stock exchange. If you're new to the stock exchange, you may want to take a look at what happened to oil futures. Now, I don't want to confuse you too much. Oil futures is it's just a technical term for a contract, and it's a bid. Like, I will give you X amount of dollars next month if you buy this oil from me. Okay, that's in a nutshell. That's how it works. I'm not an expert. I'm not an economist. I'm just giving you a nutshell. Okay, so basically it went to negative around $37 negative, which this happened the first time in history. It's never happened before. It's never even happened where it went 1 penny negative and now it went $37 negative. Yeah, it went over 250% negative in one afternoon. Not one day, one afternoon, because I was watching this. I've been watching it for a few weeks. Okay, the price of futures oil, and it's been slowly going down, which is a really big no-no, because the oil industry is connected to what's understood as the petrodollar. In a nutshell, again, I'm not an economist, I'm not an expert. The petrodollar is this idea that when countries purchase oil from each other, like Saudi Arabia or other big producing oil countries that produce oil, they sell their oil. Now, if you're a country, you have to buy U.S. currency. So you take your currency, you transfer it into U.S. currency, then you're allowed to purchase oil. Okay, that's called the petrodollar. This is a synthetic rule that was enacted. Well, first I think it was started in the in the 40s, but Nixon in 71 moved the United States from the gold standard to the oil standard. Okay, that means that the U.S. currency once was backed by actual hardcore gold, like bars. Okay, now they moved that where the currency is backed by oil. So what does that mean? It means that if the price of oil tanks, it's not only going to affect gross domestic product, GDP, okay? 8% of US GDP is oil. Now, that's just pure GDP, directly linked to oil. Now, indirectly linked, you have to understand, there's a ton of stuff indirectly linked to oil. There's the auto industry, there's plastics, there's all kinds of stuff. Everything's made of oil, plastic, computer stuff. Because computers have plastic, right? Tupperware has plastic, right? Food containers have plastic, right? This is all a component of the oil industry. Now, you might not be conscious of all this, is that oil cannot go down and then everything's going to be happy-dory like a stock goes down. It doesn't work like that. Oil is connected to the world economy. All world currencies are connected to oil. So right now they have this huge surplus of oil, and they have to move this oil someplace, because if they don't move it, that means that oil futures for June are going to be negative 100. What does that mean? Okay, so WTI is a ticker. WTI is a ticker for futures oil contracts. Okay. Now, Brent crude oil is the commodity for oil. Now, Brent crude recently went below $20. Big no. No. Why? Because if it goes below 20, okay, this is kind of like a measuring stick. That means that many oil companies will go bankrupt. Okay, this will trigger a domino effect. You understand? Unemployment and all those other things indirectly linked to the oil industry will go down. More unemployment, right? Okay, so they're trying to figure out where we're going to put this oil, and then other people are arguing, hey, I want you guys to just shut the valves, stop producing oil. Well, in theory, that's very easy, but in reality, it's not that simple. It's not like you just turn your faucet off at home and water stops going, starts coming out of the faucet. It doesn't work like that. There are mechanisms in place which you can turn off the oil pumps, but it's very expensive, okay? And some pumps you're able to turn off easier than others. Like, there's an oil well, a hole in the ground, and you can plug it in, okay? That's kind of how you turn everything off, okay? But it takes money, and then if you ever want to open it, depends on the oil well. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you have to go in and take out all that stuff that was plugged into the hole. This is expensive and time consuming, okay? And then other times you have these pipelines. Now, this is reality. I'm not pro or against. I'm just giving you the reality. There are pipelines, and these pipelines have oil inside. You can't just turn it off because it could break the pipeline. Now, if there's something like that happens, a break, there will be an environmental, effect. You understand? Leaks and stuff like that. Now, no one wants to see that. Of course, nobody does. But the reality is that our society, is sitting on oil, and we use oil every day for all kinds of things. So they're going to try to move this oil. Now, if they don't move this oil by, I don't know, I would say sometime in May, that will trigger a humongous domino effect, okay? And sooner or later, that domino effect will catch up to everything in the stock market, meaning that it'll trigger an alert, and probably the banks will pull out all their trillions of dollars, because that's their emergency, brake. They're like, emergency brake, pull that puppy, So that's kind of how it works in a nutshell. So I would look at the news for the next 3 weeks like a hawk, because all of a sudden they're talking about these very sensitive topics. And if you know what I mean, look at international politics and things like that. Just take a look at that from now on, because it's very sensitive. They want to create a solution to this oil crisis, meaning that they want to create an event, or they want an event to be created, or they want this event to be triggered so they can move oil from A to B. Now, of course, again, like I said, I'm neutral. I'm just looking at it and observing it. I'm not a decision maker. It's not up to me. Of course, it's not up to you guys, right? All I can do is control what I believe can help me. Maybe consider moving my money, okay, to something more stable. Because if they don't do something about this oil, it could possibly lead to a ginormous trigger effect. It might not happen in June. Now, oil will tank in June if they don't move it, absolutely. Now, but the domino effect won't happen for months. There will be slight domino effects, but the ginormous domino effect, it might come 5 months later. You see, 5 months later. So something you should think about, consider. Again, do your own research. It's a very complex type of situation we're living in, and there's a lot of information. There's a lot of misinformation as well. So there's a lot of information you have to weigh, and you just have to take control with, and make some decisions for your family. Gave you something to think about, some tidbits. Again, I'm not trying to scare you. It's something that really every single person needs to start thinking about right now. We all need to become smarter, much smarter. We need to become experts in all of these industries, because you never know what's going to happen. You got to start making decisions on your own. Okay? Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Remember, just email me at heyteacherraf@gmail.com, and I can help you with your teaching journey, or click subscribe to see more tidbits like this. Take care. Have a great day.